Alrighty, continuing my previous journals flip. This one has some... Oh, it's really noisy in here today. Girls. This is from 2009 and this has some doodling and some planning pages because this is when I started doing my planning in my journal for some weird reason. I don't know why I decided to put them both together, but I decided it was going to be a good idea. So this is aqua marker. This is a piece of like that cotton web paper that I just stuck over the top. Black paint marker, some stamps, black and white paint marker, a photograph and some tape. We are being very noisy today, girls. Hi, Jibs. Oh, address. This is where I was doing planner pages. As you can see, I've got 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. I would assume 6th and 7th were weekends. This is, looks like I did some spray ink at the back and just stuck on some collage bits, and this is a stamp. This is a doodle. This is proof that you can paint on very thin paper. This is really, really, really thin moleskin plain paper, okay? Very, very thin paper. This is acrylic and watercolour with collage and drawing, and I didn't gesso or anything like that. I just painted on the page, and look. Now at the time it would have warped a little bit, but it's flat now. Anyway. just play with your papers, people. Yeah, this was a watercolour background, and then I threw on some... This orange is done with some cheap acrylic craft paint and bubble wrap. Just put the paint on and put it down. And I splashed white on it. White marker, bit of collage, and this is a drawing that I did, cut out and stuck down. Another planner page. Now these, obviously you can see I can't really see what I did. This I used to, instead of doing it as I went along, I used to do all the pen work as I went along, and then I would decorate it afterwards. So, you know, if you want really heavily decorated pages like this, you can do it that way round and decorate it after the fact when you've used all the useful information off the page. Unfinished. I think that was inspired by Tam, but I didn't like the paper I was working on. Just a sketch, pencil sketch. This is, the red is watercolour paint, the white is just some, I think it's gesso. Yep, just some gesso I splashed down. Black pen, again same pen. I think I used this pen for most of this book actually. And a photograph that I printed out, an old photograph that I printed out. Bits from magazines, white pen, more bits from magazines, bit of watercolour in the background here. It looks complicated, but it's really not. It's just, I tend to put down magazine bits wherever I want them and then fill in the blanks. Or not fill in the blanks. Sometimes I leave them blank. Picture of my mum. This is actually a photo transfer I played with. Watercolour background, ink stamp. Another photo transfer, which worked a lot better, apparently. And this is a big fat chunky dip pen and some black ink. which as you can see went absolutely everywhere. Very cool effect, I like it. More collage and watercolour backgrounds. This is not Neocolor 2s, Portfolio Pastels. I like the Portfolio Pastels because they're very easy to write over once they're wet and they're dry. They don't leave a waxy finish. And this looks like I collaged on a bit of, yeah, I collaged on a bit of scrap paper for her dress, apparently. Ooh, there's an ugly face. Oh, that was a journal challenge, I think, that we were doing. We had to take a set of eyes from a magazine and then draw a face around it. And I don't draw the eyes first, so I found that really difficult. Another planner page. Now this is again portfolio oil pastels. Drew the doodles, went over it with water, let it dry, went back in with green and emphasised it. Same thing, let it dry, and then probably doesn't pick up on camera, but I went over it with a Sakura jelly marker in neon orange, and it just picks up. I don't know if it'll pick up on camera. Neon doesn't pick up very well. No, you can't see it. That's all that is. It's just a doodle. It's nothing amazing. It looks good. You know, overall, you look at it as a one piece and you go, oh, wow. But it's just, you know, I split my page in half. I did my 5 days of the week, my weekends, and then I doodled. It's just swirls. Just a photo, some collage in the background. This is book text. Looks like I've got a bit of acrylic paint in the background again. Doodled with a pen. This is just like going like that with a pen. This is a piece of vellum stuck down, written on with a pencil. Pencil. It was a humid day. I had very huge hair. Pencil, scribbles. This is just pen. And the brown is a bleed through from the next page. I didn't like this background. I did like this background right up until I did this, and it bled through onto what had been one of my favourite pictures up until then, and that annoyed me, so I didn't finish the page. It was my punishment for it bleeding through. I didn't finish it. That's just layers of paint. It didn't work. So don't put layers of gloss paint and tissue paper together and then cover it in black and wipe it off. It doesn't work. Some more cartoony doodles, some more doodles. To-do lists. Didn't finish that page apparently. Oh, it was July. I got a new calendar. I think I bought the moleskin calendar that looks like this. This is, oh, I think this is a page I did on camera. There's a video of this in the archives somewhere. More drawing, writing, doodling. This is inspired by henna tattoos, obviously. I drew a hand. Might even have been my hand. And then used just a brown. This actually is a Pilot G-Tech C4 in brown. Because I just discovered the brown colour and I was like, ooh, I love drawing in brown. This is acrylic paint in the background. Actually, it's all just acrylic craft paint. 2 colours of acrylic craft paint and a pen and a pencil. Again, no gesso or anything, I just painted straight onto the page. The secret with thin paper is don't get it too wet. Or if you do get it wet, let it dry. And then add some more. Don't keep working on wet paper, and then you won't have a problem. That was a stamp, which I liked the stamp, but the ink bled, which annoyed me. Again, this is when I'd probably already drawn this page out, and then I got my new journal. This is a video as well. This is, I think, Neocolor 2's in the background, just water-soluble crayon, a white pen and dip pen. I used an ink pen. This is just colour pencil, and this is a photograph. Watercolour paint in the background. The brown is a stamp, and actually that's a background stamp that I got from the Early Learning Centre. They do these big background stamps, about that big, for kids, the big chunky things that just make patterns, and I used that and brown one of these. Archive link, so it's waterproof, and this is just collage from a magazine. That is just acrylic craft paint that I put on fairly dry by the look of it, and then I doodled over the top, sprayed a couple of circles and then doodled over the top. This is a folded up thing that I just inked the edges with an ink pad. Drawing, again watercolour, bit of acrylic craft paint. Scooby, stop that please. Same pen, this pen again. This reflection, well, that's July. I thought that might have been Nano Germo, but it's not, because that's a July page. Ugly faces, drawn with a pen, pencil. Experiment that went horribly wrong, let's just skip that past that bit. Watercolour background, drawing, collage, and this is an illuminated letter. So, like the monks of old, I drew a capital letter and I doodled around it, and then I coloured it in. And then I added gold bits. All that yellowy kind of colour, that's all gold pen. It's a way of adding interest to your page without having to do a lot to it. Class planning notes. Oh, this is a video as well in the archives. Just setting it up like a newspaper. Photographs. And I wrote it like it was a newspaper article. Failure to land, lands cat at vets. This is, I can't remember what I used in the background, but it's very, very pale, so it was probably one of those Tim Holtz Distress ink type things. And pen. And sticky letters. Thickers, I think they're called. Seem to remember I had some of those once upon a time. Pen and pencil. Just a page where I was throwing stuff at the paper just to see what happened. This is just layer on layer on layer on layer. Everybody was going mad for layers, and I thought, well, I'll give it a try, but I don't like layers, so as you can see I get to a point where I just stop. This is scrapbook paper. This is white is gesso. This is watercolour at the background. So probably what I did was stuck down the watercolour paper, stuck down the scrapbook paper, went over it with watercolour, let it dry, and then went over it with gesso in the middle with the intention of writing on it. This is gesso with charcoal and black ink. That's a personal page, I'll skip that one. More. Again, I'm pretty basic with what I use. It's not about what you use, it's how you use it. This is watercolour crayon. This is ink on a brush, and this is all just stuff I clipped out of a magazine. And then I went around it with a pastel. Pen and pencil and a bit of, yeah, it's chalk. It might be eyeshadow actually. Yeah, it's sparkly, that's eyeshadow. Bit of gold paint in the background there. I don't think that'll pick up on camera, but all this yellow at the background is gold. Collage from a magazine again. And to make the background blend with the foreground, what I normally do is put the collage down and then paint around it. I don't paint the background and then collage over the top. That way you can go over the corners and get a bit of a blending thing going. And then this green scribbly stuff is a stamp. It's a border stamp that I used all the way around. And then this is again cut out from a magazine. Playing with tapes, just sticking them down, seeing what happens. I think this was part of a class actually, I was demoing different types of tapes. This is an example of how to use a Facebook meme. This is one of those my life according to. So you have so many questions like, are you male or female, describe yourself, how you feel, and then you choose a band that you really like and you use their song titles to answer the questions. This is, the orange is, actually the orange is acrylic paint, and then the black is acrylic paint that I brushed on really wet and then wiped off, so it kind of shows the orange through, and then I did the same with white over the top. This is duct tape, and this is just printed out off the computer and stuck on and painted over. Some personal pages. More sketching in pencil. More sketching in pencil, coming to the end now. And this was one I did for a class. This is actually a 3D pop-up, but because the paper was so thin, this card didn't work very well, it was too thick. So it doesn't work properly, but when you open the book, it pops up, you see? Can you see that? It's hard to show on camera, isn't it? This was an exercise in rewriting your favourite fairy tale, and I'd just finished reading Alice in Wonderland. So I rewrote a bit of it, and it says, she'd been minding her own business quite happily by the river when a rabbit had popped up, and now here they were. Of course, the idea of a rabbit with a stopwatch was ridiculous, but he was there in front of her. Then there was that Looney Tunes from the woods with his silly parties and those irritating twins who finished each other's sentences. And now she had a cat, well, it's Grin anyway, following her around. Whatever next. It's like a really miffed version of Alice in Wonderland. I always thought it was really funny that she just accepted all this weird stuff that happened. Like, oh yeah, okay. It's a talking cat. I think that's the end of this book because you can see the rest of it's blank. Oh, I've got a sketch page there, that's just colour pencil. That's the Koh-i-Noor multi-lead pencils, gives a really cool effect. Oh, got some Christmas doodles. Dangles. Zen dangles, apparently they're called. Most of this is blank. Oh, there's a sketch for a painting that I did. A Halloween sketch that I never finished. Oh, Do I need to get a planner? Do I need to get a schedule? Just random stuff that was going through my head. Again, all done in this pen. That's all it is, just that pen. I've got all sorts on here. To-dos, get an account book, really important. Kelly has a new radio show, don't forget to download it. Quote from Aerosmith. I often wonder how many different ways of writing one person has in their lifetime. Quite a few here. Just some random bits of stuff. TV shows I'm enjoying. And that's just an example of a watercolour background that I hadn't done anything with. Again, it's just watercolour crayon, I believe. Yeah, it's slightly waxy, so it's watercolour crayon. And then I had very, very, very watered down gesso, and I just put it over the top because it gives this nice muted effect and it makes it easier to write on. So that's it, that's that one. As you can see, very, very thin paper will go a little bit wibbly at the edges, but it's not horrendous, really. I don't know really why people get so worked up about, oh well, you know, it's thin paper, it'll buckle. Well, so what? So it buckles. I stopped using this one because the binding was coming apart. You can see here. Can you see there? The binding is completely shot. Halfway through the book, and this was when moleskins started going downhill. The bindings started giving out before you were finished. So there you go, there's another one.